Hey, what's up everybody? Gabe here. Sorry about the background noise. I'm in a parking lot. I'm maybe 20 or 30 kilometers from home, and I'm starting out my shakedown trip for the pre-BDR. So this weekend I'm gonna ride a little over 1,200 kilometers over 3 days. I'm gonna camp 2 nights. It's gonna be, I'm going kind of far, so it's gonna be 500 kilometers of road to get to my place where I'm going. I'm going to Lac Saint-Jean. I'm gonna ride trails the second day if the weather permits. Unfortunately, the weather is gonna be a little shaky, so I don't know how much trails we'll actually get, if they're gonna be washed out, but we'll see. And then I'm gonna ride back. But in either case, I'm gonna at least test out how all the gear does and make sure I got everything and all that. So hopefully I'll get some trail rides in, but that's kind of secondary. So let's have a little walk around of the bike. Again, sorry about the noise. So we got our Moscow Moto Reckless 80 kit installed now. It's looking good. It's holding. I've got their auxiliary pockets that came with. So here we got these gas bottles that I used previously in my XSR. So I got 2 liters of gas like that, plus the 11 in the tank. I think that's going to be a pretty good mix. On this side, I've got my tools in the other auxiliary pocket: a spare tube, tire levers, toolkit. I've got, you know, a sleeping bag, tent. The tent poles are in a separate bag, which I think is pretty cool, although it could be a little tighter in there. It is lashed in, but I don't love how tight it is, so I got to figure that out. I'm still learning how to use the system. There's a lot of adjustability, a lot of things to do with that. I'm checking the tightness of the straps, but so far it hasn't fallen off. So yeah, everything else on the bike. Oh, the tires are new. I did finally get my MT21 and my D606 mounted on the bike. It was pretty hard. I did it myself. I'd never done it before. I'm proud that I accomplished it, but it wasn't easy. I learned a lot doing it though. I think next time I have to do it, it'll be a lot easier. Yeah, so this is, I rode around my neighborhood with them quickly to make sure I mounted them. They were seated properly. This is also my first real ride on these tires. So with that, we will hit the road. So see you then. Hey, I am now 100 kilometers from home, maybe. I'm still got quite a ways to go, but I pulled over after doing a nice 75-kilometer stretch from that last place I stopped just to see how everything was doing. And unfortunately I have a little problem. It's not huge. I think I can correct it, but some of this foam here was riding on this exhaust tip, and you can see there's like a burnt mark where it melted some of the foam. So I'm going to try to shove this whole thing forward with the strap and hope that it will stay away from the exhaust tip there, which gets quite hot. It's a hot day today. It's only going to get hotter, so yeah. Otherwise everything is going well. One thing that I didn't realize is this setup makes it pretty hard to put a tank bag up here, which I thought I would be able to put, and I didn't bother. I might try again when I get home, but for now it means to charge my electronics they basically have to be in my coat pocket. So I'm going to put my phone battery's dying, so I'm going to put my phone in there and see if that's going to work with my pocket, because the charger's here and all my other electronics are back here. So not much I can do about that, but oh well. That's the plan. Otherwise bike's going good, so I'm going to keep it moving now. It's a nice town. It's a church. It's Louisville. And I don't think maybe I've driven through here before, but I don't really remember it. But it's a nice church, so it's a pretty big town. There's a nice little downtown over there that I just passed through. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going. See you hopefully at Leipzig. Unfortunately, after this point, I don't really have any more of these like vlog style rest moments. I intended to take another one once I got to the campground. However, once I got to the campground, it was completely full of people. It was not a very private camping spot. I'd been actually camping at that campground before, but it had always been kind of empty. So this time I was really jarred a little to see how full it was, and there was people everywhere, and there was no way to like film myself talking without people thinking I was going to talking to them, or thinking I was being weird and filming them. I didn't want to do any of that, so I very quickly filmed my campsite, which I will show you right now. Here it is, pretty small campsite, and there's people all around me. So yeah, and this is kind of the point where the trip derails. See, after this first night, what I had intended to do was kind of go about 150, 200 kilometers around the lake on, ATV trails. There's a bunch of different ones. I wasn't sure what the difficulty would be, but I figured they're always pretty close to the road. So if ever it got too nasty and I didn't feel like I was comfortable doing it, it was no big deal. I could just hop on the road and try the next section. So I had my GPS all programmed and ready to go. That was the plan. Unfortunately, this trip did not go to plan because a few hours after I got to the campsite, it started drizzling a little bit. Not a big deal. I was like, okay, it rains a little. Actually makes the trails less sandy. That's kind of fun. I don't mind. But it didn't just rain a little. Sorry. It poured. It poured all night from like 2 or 3 in the morning. And when I woke up at like 7, it was still raining. And worse, I discovered that my tent is no longer waterproof. I had a ½ inch of water pretty much in the entire bottom of the tent. The whole bottom, it just came straight through. It didn't really come through the sides, so that part's okay. The rain shelter or cover part still works fine, but the bottom of the tent, the polyurethane, just no longer waterproof. So I'm gonna try to respray it now, but or I'm gonna replace the tent before I go to the BDR. But either way, I woke up, everything of mine was inside the tent. My jacket, my gloves, all my extra clothes, which I was using as a pillow, it all got soaked. My sleeping bag got all wet. Everything was wet. So it was pretty miserable, and the forecast said rain all day until like pretty late that night. So I made the decision, after seeing how much it had rained, that I would basically just go home instead of trying to ride the trails, because they were going to be not rideable, and I was supposed to camp a second night at a different campground, but I didn't want to if all my stuff was soaked. I didn't want to sleep in a wet sleeping bag and all that, so I decided I would just turn around and go back home, which is pretty much what I did. Unfortunately, I didn't record any of the trip home because it was pouring rain the whole time, and my GoPro is waterproof-ish, but not that waterproof. So what I'll say is that while I didn't get to do the off-road part, which sucks, I did ride 1,000 kilometers on the CRF in 2 days. Not the most comfortable bike of all time to do that on, but at least I know I can do it now. On that second day, I got caught in 4 or 5 different, what can only be described as monsoons. Just crazy, short-lived, but crazy strong rainstorms, where a few times I just had to pull over in the side of the road and just wait because I couldn't see anything. There was no shelter. I was literally like next to like a farm field or something, just getting hosed. A bunch of cars did it too, so it wasn't so bad, but like just got soaked through. Everything got wet. Everything that wasn't like in one of those Moto Moscow dry bags, everything that wasn't in one of those just got completely soaked through. My jacket was waterproof for a while. My boots literally had water in them. Like I did the thing where I took them off when I got home and like poured the water out. That was fun. What is really interesting though is all the electrical stuff I did to the bike, nothing shorted out, nothing went wrong, everything still worked. So at least I know the bike is waterproof. Maybe I'm not that waterproof, but at least the bike is waterproof, and I know it for sure. Because the only way it could have got wetter is if I would have dropped it in a lake. So in terms of Shakedown, well, I learned my tent wasn't waterproof. I forgot a couple of things. I forgot bug spray, which I didn't need that much, but there's like an hour in the evening before it started raining where I would have liked to have it, and I forgot. I didn't bring another pair of shoes, so I was stuck with my tall like off-road boots the whole time, and they're not that fun to wear around camp. So I should have brought some small pair of shoes or something. Would have been good. I put my first aid kit really deep in my bag, and the second day in the rain, I cut myself at a stop, minor cut, but like enough that I would have liked to have a band-aid before putting my glove back on, but it was so deep in my bags and it was raining and I didn't feel like getting everything wet that I just decided to just, kind of put my glove back on with the bloody finger, and I cleaned it up when I got home, like 4 hours later. So maybe I'll put my first aid kit somewhere a little bit more accessible. Also, for a more serious thing than a little finger cut, perhaps it would be good to have quickly at hand after all. Camera wise, I was okay. Obviously not that waterproof, but that's okay. I didn't expect to be waterproof. I just didn't think it was going to rain that much. The audio is still tricky. It always is. Right now I'm recording, in my office at home. It's totally different audio setup. Not very portable, but for what is portable is so and takes up a lot of space. Oh, and the final thing, or two final things. One is about recording made me think about. It's about electronics. I mentioned it in the second segment where because I don't have a tank bag, everything that I'm charging off my USB port has to pretty much be sitting in my coat, which is awkward. I'm going to try again to get my tank bag, but the shape of the front of the seat and that IMS tank makes it really hard to put the Wolfman Enduro tank bag that I've had for years on there. I'm going to fiddle with it some more before I do the BDR to see if I could get it, but if not, I guess charging stuff in my coat does work. I did charge my phone like that for another 200 kilometers after that last segment. The other thing is the IMS gas tank. It has that rubber hose that goes down the bike for venting, and it's the rubber hose from the stock gas tank, but it kind of pops off the IMS tank once in a while. In the garage, that means a little gas smell, not a big deal, but I was lucky it didn't pop off overnight during the big rainstorm. I mean, it's not a very big opening, but during that kind of rain, I'm sure some water could have got in the tank and maybe caused me some problems. It didn't happen. It stayed on, but I need to get a hose clamp or something to hold it in place there because I definitely don't want water getting in there. So yeah, that's it. It was a shakedown. I learned some things. Things got shaken down, definitely. I didn't have any more problems with the bags touching the exhaust. I just had to strap them more forward, and I would recheck them once in a while. The tires did fine. Even in the pouring rain, those tires did actually pretty good on the road. I never felt like I didn't have any grip or anything like that, and I rode like a whole 7-hour day. Pretty much never saw a dry road that whole day. There's one thing I'd like to mention. I'm going to show it here. This bridge right here. This is one of those like metal bridges that can be moved out of the way to let boats go by, and I knew it was there. This is the town of Grand-Mer. It's kind of like a town attached to the slightly bigger town of Shawinigan. It's one of the kind of regional centers of that area, and it has this bridge, and I've crossed it before. I've actually crossed it before on a motorcycle, and it's miserable. I hate crossing these bridges. It feels like your front wheel is just going wherever, and like it's worse than riding in sand. I just really don't like it, like deep sand. And I was like, oh man, I really don't want to do that with my knobby tires and everything. So I looked on the map and I could take the highway and take a detour around this bridge. So I tried to do that, thinking I was clever. Unfortunately, the bridge at the highway was closed, and I followed the detour signs, and they literally brought me back to the bridge I didn't want to take. So I lost about 25 minutes trying to get around this thing. Ultimately, I'd only have to turn back and take it anyway. It went fine. Even with the jerky throttle, even with the knobby tires, it didn't really phase me very much. But I will say on the way home, in the pouring rain, I found an alternate route that was a little longer but didn't involve taking it, which I think is for the best because trying it wet would have been another story. So that's it. I am more or less ready for the BDR. I have actually, since all this happened, received my Vortex ECU and my FMF exhaust system. I haven't installed them yet, so that's what the next videos I think are going to be about. I want to do some comparisons, especially decibels. I'm really curious. I got the FMF Q series, which I understand the Q stands for quiet. I want to see how quiet. I really hope it's not much louder than the stock system. Also, I'm a little worried about, you know, mounting the luggage. It does come with a shield. I hope the heat shield will be enough. I can place it properly to keep everything off the exhaust. That's what I'm hoping for. So I'm going to play with that, and I'll be making more videos about that. So thanks for watching, and enjoy a bit more footage of my trip. And I'll see you soon. Peace.